If you are new to Claude Code or you've been using Claude Code for a while and you find yourself repeating the same process to Claude Code again and again, then you are in the right place. You need to start utilizing skills. In this video, you're going to see how skills work, how you can create your own skills, and how you can utilize skill so that you never have to repeat the same process to Claude Code ever again. Let's get started. So when you're using Claude Code and you're giving it a particular instruction to perform a particular task, your prompt is sticky note, right? It's not staying in your code base. It's not repeatable. You cannot share it between session, or you can even share it between different teams, right? And if you try to add different rules to your system prompt or your custom Claude.md file, then every time you're running a prompt, your prompt is bloated. You're basically wasting your tokens, and we cannot do that. We need to utilize our tokens efficiently. So to solve this problem where we need to repeat everything between different sessions, we cannot share the knowledge, and we also need to find a way so that our system prompt is not bloated. We find this technique that's called skills.md, right? Skills.md is just a directory. It contains a skill.md file. The file has YML front matter, name and description, basically markdown description, and it can also have sibling folders like different scripts, references, or assets. And the standard for the skills files is defined in agentskills.io. This is where we are basically defining so that it can be shared between different coding tools, regardless of which coding tools you're using. And they also have a repository, so you can look at their source code if you want to look at how they're utilizing this. And you can also see this site and you can also go to another site. It's called skills.sh. It's from Vercel. It's a open source. It's a community. It's a community where different people share their skills, and you can see what are the most popular skills, what are the new skills, stuff like that. And if you find them useful, you can definitely make them part of your workflow so that whenever you're trying to perform a particular task where these skills can be useful, you can definitely use them so that it can improve the quality of your work as well, and you don't have to repeat the same process, right? So you can go there and explore it if you want to. And if you look at the structure of a skills.md file, so on the right side, we can see the Vercel React best practices. It has the name, it has the description, it has the license, metadata, and then the body, where you're basically defining how to use this skill, on what the skills work, how does this skill works. So the formatter, it basically gives you this name and description, and it will be loaded into every section. And then the instruction, and also like bundled code, where you can basically add different scripts, sources, or images, any other thing that you need, that these particular skills need, skill requires to perform a particular task, right? So the main idea was behind these skills was progressive disclosure, because like we said in the beginning, if our Claude.md file or our entry file to any particular agent is big, then it will start bloating every prompt. So we'll be introducing unnecessary information that may not be required to perform a particular task for that particular prompt, right? So we need to find a way so that we can minimize those token usage. And that's why in the first level from skills, we only load the metadata, the name and the description, which is like 50 tokens. It's nothing, right? So when we see that this particular metadata is matching to a particular prompt, only then we load this skills and this skill.md file body basically, and then we load this skill.md files body that contains the actual instruction on how to perform that particular task. And it has 500 to 200 tokens. It can be big, it can be medium, but based on that, we can basically now make other decisions like, okay, now we can check, do we have any other dependencies to perform this skill? Like, do we need to execute any script? Do we need to add any assets? Do you need to add any other things, right? And that is the third level. And we load it based on whatever is written in the skill.md body. So at this point, we already know that this is what we need to perform. And we are focusing on the skill.md file. And that bundle files, we can put whatever we want to put or whatever is needed to perform that particular task. And it has no limits, right? It is only loaded based on demand. So it is still much more efficient than adding everything at once to your Claude.md file, right? So this is the main idea behind skills. it adds progressive disclosure so that your context usage remains low while giving you the full ability to perform a particular task and make it repeatable. So essentially, you see the invocation process we've already defined almost like when you give it a prompt, it basically matches with your prompt with whatever skills is available in your repository or in your computer, and then it loads that skill file, it runs through the reference file, and then use all of those things to perform the particular task and give you the final output. And if you compare the different techniques that we've went through since the inception of LLMs, right, when it became popular, like system prompt, RAG, MCU server, and now skills, you can see skills actually is much better than every other tools or techniques we had in before. Like system prompts is good, but you cannot add too many things, it's not executable, and you cannot load it on demand, you have to load it every time, so that creates this problem where it can be bloated. And RAG is you cannot load RAG on demand. You can and then we have RAG cannot carry instruction, and it cannot carry executable. It can store knowledge, it can be also triggered on demand, but it does not have those abilities. And MCP server does not carry instruction, it does not carry knowledge, but it can carry executable, it can load on demand, and it also shareable like skills. But skill has this ability to all of these things, like it can carry instruction, carries knowledge, carry executable code, loads on demand, and also portable across different tools. And this portability is actually skills one of the best attributes of skills, because since it's just an skill.md file and we are already defining it based on the agent skills, and this portability is one of the most important attribute of skill.md, because it's just an MD file and it is defined with a particular structure in mind. You can share it between different tools, even if it's from a different provider. So for example, if you're defining a skill for Claude.ai, you can use it on ChatGPT or any other coding or any other tools that you may be using. You can also use it between Claude API, Claude Code, or even maybe Codex if you want to, because they follow the same structure, right? So the bottom line here is you need to utilize skills because you need to keep your context concise so that the output that you get from your LLM is accurate, and it also needs to be repeatable. And this process is procedural knowledge, right? Like whenever you're trying to do a particular task, you have some steps in mind, like that only you can do. Maybe you know how to do this in XYZ steps, and this knowledge may not be available to someone else. So if you do this into a and if you put this knowledge into a skills.md file, it becomes easily shareable. This knowledge is now being shareable for everyone. Whoever is using that code base, they can trigger this skill.md file, and this skill.md file will do all the things that you do to perform the particular task, and it's basically make this knowledge much more widely shareable. And because this skills.md file has an open standard, as we said before, because of this open standard, it's portable into different providers, so it's also more universal in that way as well. Like even if you are trying to share it everyone in the internet, you can do that, because all they need is just the skill.md file. They don't need to know your code base or anything like that, right? So this is the power of skills.md file, and that's why it's becoming so popular, and everyone is utilizing this so that the knowledge sharing between different teams is much easier, and it's much more persistent than just writing something in a particular session and then you start a new session, you have no idea how to, and you start a new session and you have to repeat this same knowledge again that you just repeated in another session, right? So let's see how we can create our own skills and use it to do a repeatable task without repeating the same process over and over again. So now I'm in Claude Code, and I can now create, basically in the past you could go to skills and you can then create your skills, but you can now simply, since LLMs advanced so much right now, you don't have to go to do that. You can directly just go to skills.md. So just come to this page, agentskills.io, and just copy this page. You have the latest standard available for you, and just paste it in here. And I'm going to create a skill so that I can convert images to WebP, right? So I have this site, and that is a agent marketplace. It has some images. For example, if I go to the blog section, you can see we have like 3, 4, or 5 images. They're all in JPEG format, and they're maybe 2 to 3 MB size, so we can reduce them significantly if we convert them to WebP for better performance. And I may be repeating this task every time I add a new image, right? So every time I may have to go and ask Claude, convert this image to WebP, and it will now try to see, okay, do we have these particular tools available or not? Do we have CWebP installed? Do we have Sharp installed? Do we have Fmpeg installed? All of those knowledge that you need to perform this particular task, we would have to start from fresh every time we are trying to convert a new image to WebP, right? So if I can create this skill, I can just go to Claude Code and say, okay, convert this image to WebP, and it would automatically trigger that skill. And I don't have to worry too much because I already know Claude will know whatever step it needs to take to perform that skill because I already validated those steps. So what I'm going to do, I just pasted this and I'm going to say, follow this to create a skill so that we can convert images to WebP, and also make sure to include in the skills that whenever we are converting an image, the references are updated as well. So that if I'm updating an image from PNG or JPEG to WebP, I want to make sure wherever we're using that image as a source, those references are updated as well, because otherwise that reference will be broken and the image will not load, right? So I'm just going to give it this very simple prompt, and it should be able to create the skills folder for us with following this particular standard. I'm going to give another instruction saying, do not make it as a command, just to be safe, because sometimes Claude can make it as a command, but we want to make it as a skill so that it follows the agent skills standard. Claude is down, huh? So let me try again. Say try again. Seems like Claude is down. It happens more often than not. Yeah, now it's back. So now it's exploring, and it will try to create the skill following the agent skills standard. So it's creating this convert WebP skill. It already created a folder inside .claude. So your skills live on your custom skills live under this .claude folder, and it's defined a name, a description, convert raster images to WebP format, update all source code references to match, activate whenever a new image is added to the project, an existing image needs to be converted, or the user asked to optimize convert images. So this is the most important part of a skill. You need to define a trigger. If you don't define a trigger, that skill will never get triggered, and as a result, that skill is useless, right? So you need to make sure that your skills contain this, when to trigger it. That is the most important part. And then it is defining the steps on how to convert an image to WebP. So we can go to that, but like I said, you just use these particular tools to convert images to WebP. So I'm just going to accept it, and it's just going to create that skill.md file with all the instruction that I just reviewed. And we don't need any other references file, but if you had any other references file, so for example, we're just using this script that we need to convert the images. So we are also going to put it in the skills folder, but if we have even any other image assets or images, we could also put it in here as well. So we have this in our skills with a summary. So that's done, right? We are just going to use this script. So whenever we are utilizing this skill, we are going to execute this script. We are just going to execute this script. Now I'm going to exit out of this session, and I'm going to start a new session to show you how it gets triggered, right? So I'm going to exit out, Control C. I'm going to clear. I'm going to start Claude session. So now I'm in a new Claude session, and I'm going to say convert blog slash. So let's say this image. I want to convert this image to WebP. And I'm going to enter, and it will going to see, now it's trying to load this skill, right? It's trying to see, it's asking my permission so that it can load this convert WebP skill. I'm going to enter, and it successfully loaded that skill, and it's going to use that skill to convert this image to WebP. So I didn't have to repeat any of this information. Otherwise, I would have to basically go through this step, accept this step, and verify Claude that, okay, this is indeed what I want to do. Since this is already in a skills file, it already knows that I verified this information, and it can run through this step without even asking me for permission. And this is just such a time saver. And if I want to, I can make it available for everyone. I can make it available from other team members who may be working this project, or I can even make it open source and everyone else can download and use this. But definitely it's just a very simple tool. I'm just trying to show you the idea, right? If you have a particular complex task, you can follow this step to perform the task as well. And the more you refine your skills to perform a complex task, the better the skills become, and the easier it becomes for you to repeat that process over and over again. So if you look at public folder, you can see this AI agent file has been updated to WebP, and I can also see original deleted the reference, and it's also updated the reference as well, because we said we should update the reference. So if I go to this block and refresh this, I can still see this image, right? So it's updated the references as well. So I didn't have to repeat anything. So now I can do this process for all the other images that I have. And even if I have a new image, I can follow this process, and I don't have to basically repeat anything else. I just point Claude to that particular skill, and I can even go and ask it to update all the images at once, and it will do that for me. So that's a huge time saver, right? And it also makes the knowledge transferable. So now let's see what skills don't fix, right? So if you have a bad description that doesn't have any trigger, like I said, it will be useless because it will never get triggered, and your knowledge will never be loaded to Claude Code, because it needs a trigger to understand when to load this skill. And you also need a good model. Like skills is just an instruction. It's not gonna improve the results of your LLM, but it just helps you to manage the context in a better way so that it's shareable. And if you have more skills with the same name, or if you have multiple skills that may perform the same task, that it becomes confusing for Claude Code, because like I said, the trigger, it tries to match your trigger with your prompt to see if they match. And if you have the same type of skills, it may load the wrong skills. So try to make sure that your skills don't have any overlapping trigger. Make sure they're independent and they're not doing the same task. And also for security boundary, like if you're downloading any skills from the internet, like the community from skills.sh or any other platform, make sure you're reading the skill body so that you're not running any unintended scripts or any other harmful command that may put you at security risk, right? So that is the high level of what you should be aware of. But overall, skills is the best way to maintain your LLMs. So make sure to make it part of your workflow, and it will save you a ton of time in the future. So that's it for this video. Let me know if you're using skills.md for your workflow, and I'll see you in the next one.